at Nassau Community College, who now offers 3D printing workshops for those interested in learning the basics.
From setting up and maintaining 3D printers to common terminology and best practices on how to navigate and utilize transformative tools available on Autodesk 123. This full-day primer, particularly for educators, is being offered on Friday, November 10th. Walk away with ideas on how to incorporate 3D printing into your workplace or classroom. For more information, contact the Center for Workforce Development at 516-572-7487 or visit ncc.edu. The voice of Nassau Community College.
It's all I listen to.
90.3 WHPC.
WHPC HD, Garden City.
Available on the iHeartRadio app.
Welcome to My Hometown, the program that explores clubs, organizations, businesses, and issues across Nassau and Suffolk counties and sheds light on the different towns that are making a difference.
A great day to you and welcome to another edition of My Hometown. I'm your host, Bill Horan, along with Nassau Community College student Jacob Valk. Our special guest today is Alan Freedman, director of the Jewish Sports Heritage Association. Alan has been director of the Jewish Sports Heritage Association since 2015, as well as the executive director of Temple Israel of Lawrence. Prior to Alan working at the Temple Israel, he has been the associate executive director of the Suffolk YJCC in Comac. And in addition to his many responsibilities there, he was also the founder and director of the National Jewish Sports Hall of Fame. Alan began his career at the YJCC in June of 1986 as the Health and Physical Education Director. In 1988, he was responsible for bringing the first delegation of Jewish athletes from Long Island to the JCC Maccabee Youth Games. And in 1995, Alan was the competitions director of the Maccabee Youth Games that were held on Long Island. Alan has a BA in history from Fordham and an MA in exercise science from Columbia University. He's happily married to Marilyn, a VP for UBS in New Jersey, and the proud father of David and Rachel. Alan and Marilyn live in Great Neck. Alan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bill. Pleasure to be here.
Alan, why is there a Jewish Sports Heritage Association?
My immediate answer is why not?
Sounds good.
I would tell you that going back to my early years in the phys ed area, the question was, what can we do to educate the public, in particular Jewish youth, as to the role Jewish men and women have played in the world of sports? And eventually we came up with the idea of a Hall of Fame. When I left the Suffolk Y, I wanted to continue this idea of educating, and that is why I started the Jewish Sports Heritage Association. We want the public to know, but in particular children, Jewish children, to know that Jewish men and women have achieved a lot in an area that you don't normally think of associated with the Jews.
So what is your mission?
Good question. The idea for us is to just let everyone know that Jewish athletes, and when I say athletes, it's not just talking about the playing field, the court, etc., but coaches, owners, broadcasters, Jewish men and women have achieved, like any other religious group, ethnic group, any group that's out there in the world of sports, an area that you wouldn't think of, and hopefully to break down stereotypes so particularly kids can go out there and say, you know what, it doesn't matter that I'm Jewish or I'm a little girl or I'm black or whatever it happens to be, because we think that there's just so many boundaries that are already there. Why do we have to set up more? So I understand, and I've been doing this for longer than I care to remember, about 25 years, but hopefully really just breaking down the barriers and starting a dialogue with people so they can see, well, you know, I didn't realize there aren't that many differences between myself and someone who happens to be of the Jewish faith.
Now, Alan, I think you said to me before the show that this Sports Heritage Association includes anyone. These can be high school athletes,
yes.
college. So it's not just the big names, so to
Correct.
speak. And I think I know your favorite big name because you put out a little statue of Sandy Koufax right here on the desk.
Yes. Sandy Koufax, just to give you an idea, back in the dark ages when I was preparing for my bar mitzvah, the cantor in the synagogue there was trying to teach me and a couple of the other students our melody for our prayers, and he was singing it to Sandy Koufax. I figured that would make it stick a little bit better. But yes, in terms of the big name, Sandy Koufax is the one that is my favorite.
Now, what can you tell us about, to tell our audience actually, about Jews in sports based on what you've observed in your work in this association?
I think the thing that's really struck me more than anything else over the years is I've seen athletes at all levels, and I don't want the audience to think just of the professionals, but men and women who just love their sport. And I'll give you an example in a little bit of someone who's actually from Garden City who do their sport regardless of whatever barriers they encounter or whatever physical or mental hardships they have. And they do it because it's a part of them. They love it. The woman I was referring to give a good example, is Helene Hines. Helene is a local person. If I'm not mistaken, she was trained as a physical educator, and for many years she competed in marathons, New York, Boston. And to compete in Boston, you have to achieve a certain minimal time to be there. So she was good at it. She wasn't doing it for money. As she got, I think it was into her late 40s, she was diagnosed with MS. And it didn't stop her. It did slow her down, so she wasn't running. She was jogging. When she couldn't even walk anymore, she became an arm cycle marathoner. And she actually won several New York marathons. She won several Boston marathons. And this woman has maintained an unbelievable, optimistic, upbeat, attitude. It just boggles my mind every time I see her. She teaches people with arthritis aqua exercise in Oceanside. And every time I ask her, because I know she's had another arm surgery, shoulder surgery, whatever, she doesn't want to talk about that. She doesn't want to complain. She wants to know how I'm doing, how my family is doing. And if you stop and think about it, a Jewish woman now, I don't want to say Helene's age over the radio, but she's more than 40.
Smart man, very smart.
Yes,
I was going to say.
My wife has trained me well. She does this, and she doesn't let anything stop her. And you might think of the stereotype, a Jewish woman is going to complain. She's not going to go through this to the pain or whatever. And this is far from it. And it just shows me what we were talking about before we got on the air, that I found men, women, professional, amateur, Olympic level, school, all sports. I don't know the first thing about cricket, but I find that there are great Jewish cricket players. If you ask me a position, I'll sit there probably like my wife talking about American football, but it's nice to see rugby, soccer, the sports that are very popular on Long Island, soccer, lacrosse, Jewish participation, high school level, college level, which is great. And it just shows me that, again, you're not doing this necessarily to be a professional athlete. Some of these sports, they don't have professional leagues. They're doing it for the love of the sport because they also, I think it makes them a better, more well-rounded person. But they do it because they want to. Some of them do play professionally.
Jake,
Alan, I'm sorry, Bill, go ahead.
I was just going to say, that's a great story about that lady in Garden City. And Jake here is our sports director. I have a feeling he's going to steal her away from you for a show in the future, so you better be ready.
That's fine.
No, that's a story for all of us.
Yes.
Really admirable.
Can I steal Sandy Koufax also?
I'll sign and bring him over to you.
Okay.
We'll move him over closer to your side.
I can tell you this much now. When you see all the players who get paid to do the signings, it's nice to see he's finally getting some reasonable compensation. But for what he used to sign for me for free now, he gets a lot more. So good luck with that one.
Yeah, I'm sure. How did you get started with this subject?
I've always had an interest in sports. I don't want to say I'm an athletic supporter. There'll be too many people out in the audience laughing.
Too many jokes.
But I have the interest in history, and I have the interest in sports. And what started me with the Hall of Fame was one of the board members out at the Suffolk Y, a gentleman, an attorney by the name of Cliff Bart, wanted to try and do something that would educate Jewish kids about the role Jews have played in sports. And we had several meetings, and as you can imagine, in a Jewish organization, when you have a meeting, you're going to have food and snacks and all that. And basically, we decided, you know what? We're going to create a Hall of Fame. And the idea behind that wasn't necessarily going to be something, you think about the Baseball Hall of Fame, which they had their inductions last week. No. We're not starting big. We're starting very small. And it would be an educational program. We're going to set aside a little area of our gym facility out in Comac for this Hall of Fame. And it just struck a nerve with me. It lit a fire in me, and I've heard this from many people, whether it was the Maccabi games that we were involved with for many years, or the Hall of Fame. When I talk to people about their playing on our team in Maccabi, they're like, this really stirred up something in me, and it got me into my being Jewish, and I want to learn more about what it means to be Jewish, which I think is a nice goal. Wasn't what I set out to do. As I said, we're just trying to let people know, don't come up with this idea that, Jews aren't athletes. You want the best joke, and it's one most people know if you ever saw the movie Airplane, where the passenger asked for light reading material, and it's the smallest pamphlet you ever saw called Jewish Sports Legends.
They also have Polish wit and wisdom.
Well, you said that one, Jake, not me. But it does get you.
He's going to be a politician.
Exactly.
It does get you started, because you can come up with any group and you can say, oh, they're known for being whatever, and this gets me showing, hey, don't say that, because you have Jewish football players, and you asked earlier about hockey, and you have professional soccer, and when I say this, you're talking again, men and women. I actually met a nice Jewish attorney from New Jersey. There was a women's professional football league, and she was part of it. I don't think they're still playing, but...
Wait, the Jewish attorney you met, she was part of the women's professional football.
She wasn't the agent.
I had to translate that slowly.
Yes. I was going to say, you got to... Those words shouldn't go together.
She was exactly right. She was a player in this league, and it was a love of hers, which, again, it kind of blew me away. I don't think the league lasted very long, but... something that she did. I don't honestly remember what position she played, but she was part of this. And you have to understand, getting back to your initial question, Jake, my mom, I'm the youngest of three boys, and my mom didn't want her nice Jewish sons growing up playing football. My eldest brother wanted to play American football, so my mom and dad, or my mom, had a little more influence than dad when it came to sports, did not want us playing American football. Soccer was okay. And we played it through high school, college. My brother played more as an adult up until his master years. I stopped pretty much in my 20s, but the joke was, we'd say, Mom, they're out there from head to toe, covered in pads, helmet, whatever. We're out there in our underwear, maybe shin guards. That's about it. And she thought it wasn't a contact sport. Mm-hmm.
But look what we know today about football, and I bet you give your mother a lot more credit right now for all the injuries. And
no doubt about it. Correct. And they actually show some stuff with the heading in soccer. So every once in a while, my mother-in-law will send an article to my wife saying how bad heading is, and I say, yeah, Nikki, that explains a lot. Why I don't remember something, or I forget it's your birthday. That's my mother-in-law.
It's a good excuse to use.
Yes, exactly.
Now, Alan, how do you actually educate the people? Do you do seminars? Do you write pamphlets, books?
Good question. I do. In answer to the second part of that, we have things that we give out. But first and foremost, I will go out to speak to various groups, from little kids up to seniors, at no cost to the group. Created a film based on what they said in Airplane, Jewish Sports Legends, and it's about a 35-minute film that shows the Jewish experience. We're just focusing in on the United States. I'm not looking at Jewish athletes for the film. All over the world, and it looks at the Jewish experience in sports from the early 20th century till today. What I do when I get to that group, I'm still a little slow on the technology, so I have a DVD. I'm going to put it on my computer, and if they have the capability, show it that way. But I'll talk a little bit about Jews in sports so I can find out what the group knows, start a little bit of a dialogue before the film, then after the film, answer their questions, hopefully. There's always people that want to know about a certain athlete, if they're Jewish or whatever. I'll never forget one little kid swore that Troy Aikman was Jewish, and I love Troy Aikman as a football player, but he's not Jewish.
Don't say that in New York, Alan.
Yes.
The Giant fans are going to go nuts.
This is true. So that's the main thing that we do. The other thing is, because of the changes in the world, I have